Everyone have all 10 fingers and 10 toes from lighting fireworks and firecrackers?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not allowed to do fireworks at family gatherings anymore.
Oh, really? Was there an incident?
I mean, it was going fine for a while, and then those mortars like you put in
Oh,
a
yeah.
tube and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to be loaded in a certain direction. On this week's episode of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast, we dive into the headlines around LAUSD'S AI challenges, unpack a question about FOIA requests, and we discuss what made each of us a little emotional this week. Have a listen.
Live from the NTP studios, this is the K-12 Tech Talk podcast, episode 173. It's probably going to be a train wreck of a show because we were off last week. We hadn't been together for quite a while. So there might be some rust on the wheels tonight. So bear with us. We took the fourth
No
off.
rust over here, Chris. You got any
Nope.
rust?
No
Yeah.
rust here.
Whatever.
Josh, you want to step away and then we can take care of it from here?
You're kind of hot, Chris.
No
not-
rust here. Is that better?
Oh man, I had a joke too. What the heck? You distracted me.
Yeah, it's that rust.
Oh, do we all everyone have all 10 fingers and 10 toes from lighting fireworks and firecrackers?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not allowed to do fireworks at family gatherings anymore.
Oh, really? Was there an incident?
I mean, it was going fine for a while, and then those mortars like you put in
Oh,
a
yeah.
tube and stuff. Yeah, they're supposed to be loaded in a certain direction.
Did you guys do bottle rocket wars when you were
Oh,
teenagers?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I had many burns from bottle rockets. Yeah. Yeah. Put them in the end of a wiffle ball bat and point the wiffle ball bat. Great for firing those.
Did you guys want to start over, or are we just good?
No,
from
we're
here?
good.
Okay,
We're
just
good.
keep it
celebrating.
rolling. All right.
We're celebrating the Independence Day. Should we get into all three of us cried this week, or should we do that later?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay,
Well,
we'll each
we can bring it up throughout the
Yes.
episode.
Yes, there.
Because I think mine is probably the lightest. So I was in
Not that it's a competition or anything.
I was in Santa Claus, Indiana with my family. So I got a recent graduate going off to college soon. I have a high school student and then a third grader. So we're at Holiday World the last night, taking in what might, I'm hoping that we get another family vacation, but it could be the last one.
You kicking her out? Your graduate, or
But
you're
she's gonna
done.
live she's
No
gonna
more
live in a dorm
vacation.
and stuff. She's probably gonna meet some guy, get married. You just don't know. You don't know. Anyway, Stephanie kept talking about fireworks and drone show thing, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Stuff starts, and I was just thinking some little drones like floating around with, some lights on, and instead it was insane. Like, I didn't know that technology existed. That drones, there's like 400 or 500 drones in the sky. They're in sync. Like God Bless America's pumping out, and there's an eagle in the sky lit up, and like its beak is in 3D. And I got teary eyed. I almost cried.
The part about this that I love the most was a week prior, I was sending you text messages of the drone show from Disney,
It didn't hit me.
and you were like, you ignored it. It didn't even register on your radar.
Once I saw it in this, I didn't know that we had this technology. I didn't know.
This is why countries fear us.
Well, that's what I saw something on Facebook. Like, when we attack another country, we should show up with the Eagle drones. Like before we start firing, just show the eagle coming in. But it was nuts. And I'm thinking about Henley, my youngest. Like, she's just going to grow up with drones, and it's just normal to her. And like, I'm having like one of those, like, those moments of like when the automobile was invented moments. Like, technology is nuts to me. And I almost cried.
No, you did cry. You told
You did cry.
I kept looking at my high school boy, like, and trying to like wipe my eye. Like, it's cool. It's cool, right? It's cool, right, Chase?
You know why Josh and I cried, and you're just trying to soften up the fact that you cried over some
I'm trying
drones.
to make it. Yeah, I'm trying to make it something else.
All right. It's nearing the end of summer. It's the middle of July, July 11th. 7-Eleven. Oh, was today free Slurpee Day?
It was.
I missed it. Damn.
Do you know why it's called 7-Eleven?
No.
Those are the original hours.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. And back then it was a huge deal to be open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Oh, see, I was going with PM to AM.
That's real stupid.
So I was kind of whining at the beginning. Well, pre-show, we work hard. You know, if you this is the content we provide during the show, you can only imagine the content we talk about pre-show. And let me just tell you,
Yeah, like that drone story almost didn't make it in.
Yeah, we have a
But
high
I
bar.
feel like it went.
I'm already doing beginning of the year stuff. Like I just created 200 and some odd kindergartner email accounts with PowerShell script and GAM. By the way, if you're not using GAM,
Nerd. Nerd. Go ahead. Sorry.
Leave
Go
that
go.
awkward silence in there. Leave.
Yeah.
Leave.
Oh no, I'm going to. Go ahead. Go ahead, Josh. Tell us about your PowerShell scripts.
Can we talk about those scripts you got?
If you're not using GAM or GAM ADV, you need to be. Surely this isn't news to anyone. But the frustrating thing about this is with our old student information system, I could take a CSV export and upload that into the student information system, and it automatically updated student email addresses. Now with campus, I can't do that. I have to contact support, send them the file, and they have to do the import. So it's more waiting. But yeah, we're starting beginning of the year tasks, creating new accounts, all that fun stuff. What are you guys up to? Mark, you're leaving. You probably don't care. What, Chris, have you been doing beginning of the year?
I'm pumping through faculty staff accounts. And actually we can talk about that for a second. So we have that new process, but it's the process that's always been there, but we're trying to do a better job with it. But admin building tells us as soon as paperwork is appropriately filed, we don't do any work on the account until we've received some communication. But it's dragging some stuff out. Like,
oh, sure.
And talking about Infinite Campus, like we're trying to prep some stuff, and we have new teachers that are coming, but they're not, and they're board approved, but they haven't officially even accepted like after the board approval.
Oh, wow.
So we're wanting to put them into Infinite Campus so that that's prepped, but we can't really because we're still waiting on signatures and stuff. And it's kind of, I guess it's always like this, but it's hitting a little bit different, I think, because of our Infinite Campus transition too, that we're trying to get our ducks in a row, maybe earlier than normal. I don't know.
That's always a sore point for us is, principals are, I need these teachers to have their accounts now. No, like they haven't turned in any paperwork with HR and central office. That's not happening until we've got all those T's crossed and I's dotted. And we've had to become kind of mean about that the last couple of years.
I'm surprised you said you've started to become mean.
I know. I was nice before.
I just did Chat GPT GAM with the word geek in it. The Global Alliance of Modern Geeks, it said. The Geeks Alliance for Modernization, the Geek Army of Multi-Talents. Does any of that hit you good, Josh?
I mean, I've got lots of talents.
Anyways, I think
I'm gonna tell Chat GPT that wasn't funny.
Yeah, I think I'm in the worst week of the year. It is the first week of summer school, and so I know. I'm sorry, it's weird. I get it, but first week of summer school.
Oh, are you teaching sailing?
No, I'm not. I'm answering and solving problems that we should have and could have solved and discussed 2 or 3 months ago. That's my week.
But they've been reeling over your resignation letter the whole time. That's why nothing's been done.
Yeah.
Speaking of sailing lessons, did you see that story about the sailing lesson at Lake Winnipesaukee that went bad? Like there was a motorboat. The instructor was in this motorboat and he was knocked out of the boat and didn't have the kill switch attached to him. So the boat went off in a circle and another kid came by in a wave runner and got in the boat and stopped it. But we've been to Lake Winnipesaukee. That's why I brought it up.
Good story.
Yeah, I figured.
Gluten-free avocado madness. is what Chat GPT came up with when I said, "Can you add some humor, please?"
All right.
I want to make sure the listeners understand there is actually an agenda for tonight's
Yes,
episode.
we just are dancing around it.
We have not hit the first item on the agenda.
All right, Mark, hit our first item. Let's hit our first item, Mark.
Well, that's a little plug. We have the virtual special back to school event on August 7th. You can go to K12 Tech Pro to sign up for that. That's a free event. We have a full day of professional development planned. We'll be there. The K12 Tech Pro team will be there. We're going to do cybersecurity talk and more. Back to you, Mark.
We're going to get to the news section. First one is going to be a little bit more lighthearted. Instructure. Instructure is the company behind Canvas. They also have acquired Learn Platform. So if you don't know what Learn Platform is, it's one of those different extensions you can put on your devices and it will aggregate data of what people are using. Well, they come out with a top 20 report. It's a look at EdTech usage over the last few years or the last year in comparison to previous years. Some really fascinating stats here. I thought that COVID was going to be the height of like the number of products used, and then in the last few years we'd start to go down a little bit as people focused. Quite the opposite. 2019, 2020. Districts, the average district used 2,195 different resources online. Now, Learn looks at everything, so you could also categorize that as the free stuff, the different websites that a student or a teacher might go to. But 2,195 in 1920, 2,739 in this last year is the average number. So that's rising by like 600 apps just since COVID. So it goes to show that the number of EdTech tools being used in classrooms is rising significantly. If you break it down, the average student used 45 different EdTech apps. The average teacher, 49.
And how do you become proficient in 49 different applications and use them meaningfully day to day? Like I don't know what the answer is, but there has got to be some focus coming.
You raise a very good point. And the report doesn't necessarily give you the average time. I mean, I'm going to assume that probably most teachers have 5 or 10 that they use very, very regularly. And then the rest are just like ad hoc, like for one lesson or two, something like that. But you're right. Like you cannot use that many. I think it's dangerous for districts to have 2,000, almost 3,000 different apps being used because we have to support all those.
Well, and I was going to say, I'm sure the number of ed tech staff supporting those applications climbed proportionately with the increase in applications too, right?
Yeah. So one of the things, though, I'm not going to get into all this. They do the top 10 for different categories: study tools, classroom response, supplemental platforms. I want to do a couple of them with you. They do that actually for learning management systems. They only do the top 5.
Can we guess?
Can you guess?
Google Classroom.
Number 1.
Canvas. Schoology.
Number 2. Number 3.
Wow.
Number 4. I don't know if I would have guessed this one. Savvis Realize.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. And number 5, you've probably heard of this one. I'm making the motion of it.
Seesaw.
Yeah.
Yep. So those are the 5 LMSs. And then I do want to show you top 10 sites and resources. These are like general. See if you can guess any of the top 3. And one of them is going to make you angry.
Sites and resources. Oh, it's got to be
teachers pay teachers.
Yeah, teachers pay teachers.
No, they're looking at apps for students and teachers here.
Oh, that would Pinterest.
Nope.
Well, those are the 2 that make me angry.
Number 1, YouTube.
Okay.
I think it's by a long shot.
Yeah.
Number 3 is PBS. That's a good thing.
Okay.
But number 2,
cool math games.
Cool.
Yes.
It's no.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding you. Number 2, I'm going to put this on the screen because you don't believe me. Number 2 is cool math games.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is why other countries are outdoing us in education.
I didn't guess it because I would never have allowed that to register as a resource. Like, I actually think we have that blocked now for the last couple of years.
We do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we ended
Yeah.
up blocking it.
Well,
That's
a lot of other people are
crazy.
not blocking it.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, that's the EdTech Top 40 report. We'll link that in the show notes if you want to see the rest of it.
Wow. Cool math
Yeah.
games. I need a drink.
Because
The
the new game on there this week is the castle is crumbling. Make haste to the exit.
What standard does that align with?
I'm gonna play it while we're.
All right, second story. You guys actually you said you hadn't even heard of this. The LAUSD artificial intelligence bot. And you could apply a lot of different adjectives to here, but they're headlines, I guess I would say it. So before I get started, I just want to say in full transparency, some of the folks that are involved in this and are quoted in the article are friends of mine. So I just want to make it very clear that, my thoughts are mine and mine alone. The article or the news headlines right now around LAUSD's AI chatbot is focused on this platform was announced. We talked about it on the podcast a few months ago, and is now seeming to be in peril. The company behind it has had some public signals. They furloughed their employees, that they're in some financial troubles, and the school district LAUSD has pulled back what this bot is going to be used for. They're still going to be using it behind the scenes, but they're not going to have this chat bot that teachers and students can actually talk to and find out how their grades are doing. So it's a little bit of a headline because it was a big splashy
Hey, we're doing
launch
this kind of thing. Yeah.
in the spring. The thing that is frustrating for me to see is that you have the school department and the contractor or vendor kind of feels like they're fighting in the public eye. And they're kind of disagreeing. The company's trying to say everything is just fine. But the school district had way too broad plans, and what they wanted to do is just not possible right now with technology. And the school department is just saying, look, they've furloughed a lot of their employees. We're going to scale back because we really wanted to make sure that there was a human eye on
Sure.
everything that was developed in through here. And so if they're furloughing their employees and they're like cutting and having some financial issues, we just don't want to trust a platform in the hands of students and teachers and parents. So lots of headlines around this one. There's some really good articles around, what you can do to avoid this same mistake and some of the things that you should be doing. We'll link both on our article about this and then some lessons learned from Ed Week in the show notes. But wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this, even though I know you guys haven't had too much of a pre-read on this one.
I had read part of one of the articles when it went south. I'd actually text the group about it, which furthers the idea that Chris does not read our text.
Wow.
It's one of those things where it's probably a spiral effect where the district had very lofty goals, and with a district like LA, they want the best of the best. When they buy something, they are looking at it because they want it to be the best of the best.
Yep.
And that's when they pick something, they expect it to be the best. And so, yes, high standards, high expectations, and probably at the same time, the company was having financial problems and starting to lay off. So you get that effect of high workload, but yet staff is declining, and you get that spiral downward.
Yeah.
So maybe both parties are at fault here, but I don't know that you can fault LA for having high expectations of a product. And as long as those expectations were laid out clearly ahead of time during negotiations and in the contract phase, that's not their fault. Like that should have been purely or completely disclosed or up front.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see this shake out. Weren't there some privacy concerns too? Like they were back-ending another AI model or another LLM. And weren't really being truthful about it.
I was gonna add to that at the end, and the reason I wasn't gonna kind of put that into the headline is because there are some parents who have raised concerns about privacy, and they've stated that the data is publicly available or was made available inadvertently. Those claims haven't been proven yet, and so I wanted to at least add it, but also just say there are some concerns or claims that the data was not protected from a privacy perspective. If that changes, if there's any evidence or proof of that one that does come out definitively, we'll talk about it. But at this time, what I read, in my opinion, it felt like it was more of a claim and not necessarily a fact.
Yeah. Well, and people can claim anything,
Sure.
yeah.
Yep.
So not a good situation all around, and a little bit of blame to share, maybe. I don't know.
Is it the ed tech article about and like some 5 takeaways?
Yeah. Yep.
Number 2 is funny to me because it's like here's what you can learn that you should vet companies carefully. And there's a quote like, well, these companies spring out of basements. You got to vet these guys. So kind of some digs at LAUSD for picking a startup company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But aren't all AI companies startup companies right now?
at this point, yeah. And Google was a startup at one point. Campus was a startup at one point. Like, not all startups are crap.
No, but I've definitely had, there are partners where, vendors where they are relatively small, but they're an established company. And then I've had products where I'm like, this is a guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we owned. So in Missouri, there was a AD management software, like sports management, scheduling, team management software. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
It was ran by one guy.
Yeah. That's
And
so
like
dangerous.
it had the majority of districts in the state signed up and using it for sports management. I cannot remember the name of it.
Yeah. This is when we say startup, this is a probably more established and financially viable company than some of the folks that we work with already. This was a startup, but a rather, I'd say a medium size organization for ed tech. And I don't know how much can we look for when we're talking to a vendor and say, how much can we value or judge their
Right.
credibility? I think it's very hard for a larger district like LA. Yes, you should be doing a little bit more. But at the end of the day, the private company is not going to give you a detailed accounting of their
books or-
finances. Yeah. So I don't really think any of the blame really goes to LAUSD. If anything, they probably should have just been a little bit more quiet about the rollout before, as they grew.
Yeah, or
Um,
waited until it was fully cooked before they made this big, brouhaha over, hey, we're
Yeah.
doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But okay, counterpoint to your statement of a company is not going to just hand over their books. If a company is wanting to do business with LAUSD bad enough, and LAUSD says, give us your management statement from your last audit, they would be stupid not to hand over that management statement and statement of finding or statement of fact about, are there any irregularities, what's the daily or the number of days in cash kind of thing. They'd be dumb not to hand that over, just to say, here's our proof from our last audit. I think that's reasonable, but I've done that from more of a NPO side of things, where those are public anyway, with 990 forms. Like, you can go look at any NPO's 990 and see their financial status and who's getting paid what, top 10 earners, cabinet earners, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to be a little bit more critical of the vendor on this side. And not because of any bias or anything like that. I just think that as a school district, you can vet a company, but only to a certain extent.
Oh,
and
I agree. And hindsight's always 2020. Like,
sure.
You're always in a situation like this. It's always going to be, well, you should have known better.
Yeah.
Okay, right, sure.
Yeah. And what they've done, in all honesty, in smaller districts, in any other district, it would have been like, oh, that's a smart move. You're gonna like scale back and I like this. Let's go a little bit slow. But in LA,
Right.
there's so many people that want to see the district have a speed bump or a snafu and make a big deal out of it. So it's unfortunate. But the last thing on my agenda for tonight, though, was the United States Department of Ed has issued guidance for AI ed tech developers. So I don't know if this was intentional to be at the same time as the LAUSD story, but they've released a couple of things, and I think this is really helpful for us to hear. At a very high level, they're saying to design with teaching and learning in mind. In other words, don't just do one of these wide open, generate a letter to your teacher kind of thing. Like, it needs to be focused on instruction and show how evidence was used to create the product. Not like, this is what everybody's saying your essay should look like, but this is what a teacher would say it needs to do. And then looking at ways to remove or mitigate bias. And then I think one of the things I really liked in this one is said, you need to make sure that there's a way for teachers and educators and administrators to vet the quality and the content that's coming out.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something that's going straight to students, there needs to be a way for us. And I've been saying this for quite a long time. Give me a way in, Google Gemini, ChatGPT, give me a way to see what people are writing so I can intervene if I need to.
Yeah.
So
that quality control check. Well, did you see Google was rolling out a new AI generated questions for YouTube videos? They announced it like back in, I want to say early June. You were still in school then, Mark. But that kind of thing kind of worries me too. A teacher really, really needs to pay attention to those questions that it's generating and the answers that it's putting in a multiple choice question.
yeah,
I could go really south really quick if a teacher's just like, create me 10 questions. Yep, do it, go, and doesn't kind of proofread things. You could end up in a bad situation pretty quickly.
yeah. All right, that's it for the news.
All right,
Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Just a quick plug. On September 20th, we have our K-12 Tech Pro meetup in Richmond, Virginia. It's only $25 thanks to NTP and E-Rate Sync. So join us there for a full day of professional development for you and or your team. Just do it. You know Shia LaBeouf? Are you guys Shia LaBeouf fans?
Yeah, no, I got that one. It was good.
I tried.
I was thinking we're probably going to get a cease and desist letter for that.
Do it.
Listener email. It's more of a Reddit post here. We're going to go from Reddit K12 sysadmin. And I started to talk to you guys about this, and we had to stop the pre-meeting conversation about this because we needed to do it live.
Yeah.
FOIA requests for all staff email addresses.
What do you mean all?
A poster.
What user? What's the guy's name?
It's one of those. Got to be one of those. Definitely, generated one. Dry Internet 5033.
Dry Internet.
Okay.
It says we received a FOIA request from some schmuck at a marketing company domain requesting all staff names, titles, email addresses in a spreadsheet.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you meant they were like, I want to see all staff email from this date to this date. I didn't realize they were just wanting the email addresses.
Well, this same question was asked actually on my local state forum as well. People were asking how to do this, what to do with this. And there was some differences of opinion. I will say the top comment says, number one, let your school's attorney handle this.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes. Yeah. But what do you guys do? Have you gotten this kind of request before, and how do you handle it?
Boy, I feel like I'm setting myself up here. We rarely get FOIA requests that make it to me. I know, right?
Cool,
like
that,
man. Right. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to have 16 on my desk.
If you'd like to submit a FOIA request to Josh's district, that email address is.
Yeah, exactly. My name's Mark Racine.
There's my last name. Thanks, Josh.
Oh, sorry. Cut it. I'm sorry, Mark. The one that we had a couple of years ago was, Chris, did you guys get this one too? The one about
don't bring me into this.
DEI and
yeah, we did.
It was a word list of like what 150 words or phrases.
Yes. It was just keywords.
Yeah, keywords.
That words that have many meanings.
Yes. And they wanted every email that these phrases or words popped into. And I mean, I know directors that went through the trouble of going into Vault and running a query against all of these terms. It was over like 200 terms, I think. You're looking for it, aren't you?
Yeah, because I had to do math on how many emails and how much time I thought it would take. I'm gonna try to find that really
That's
quick.
where I was going. There were a number of directors, and Chris included, that the number of hits that came back were so great that they were doing the math on how many reams of paper it would take, how much time it would take to print, and then associating a dollar value of time for the employee to do that, and then how many years it would take to do that. And I know directors that said came up with a number of like 18 years to print out all of these emails with all of these phrases. Chris, were you guys somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah.
It's not too common, but maybe once a year or so we'll get a request for all staff emails. And you could tell it's from somebody just marketing. All I want to do is get your emails, and then they're going to sell that list or spam it. I will usually say, okay, we have to do this. Our legal advisor has said we have to comply to this one. But we also have a very aggressive no spamming, practice. And so if somebody's going to be spamming and sending emails to all, 12, 13,000 staff emails,
Right.
you're getting locked out. Sorry. Not even by me either. Google will knock you
Yeah.
down if you start doing that stuff too.
They'll rate
So
limit you. So
yeah,
you,
yeah.
Mark, you guys don't have your directory publicly visible?
No,
Yeah,
no.
we don't either.
I fought that on the school level too. Schools will have on their school website, they want to have all the teachers listed.
Yeah.
And after like probably the seventh or the eighth like phishing scam, I'd say,
Yep.
like, okay, I think it's time to take that directory down.
Yeah. And that was what pushed us to take our directory down, was we had
Yeah.
someone fall for something and lost money. So
Yeah.
shoot, it's probably been 4 years since we've had our directory up.
Yeah.
Chris, you getting any good information or no?
Okay, I found it.
I'm so glad we waited.
I'm coming from a school district of 2,000 students, 200 staff. There were 7.8 million emails and 7.8 million drive files that hit those words.
That's right, because they were wanting curriculum too.
Some crazy math was like about 15 million emails files. So then it was 3 minutes of review per email file, because someone's going to have to hand go through those things to
And
search
redact.
and remove. Yeah.
Right.
And then, so the math was 89.44 years for one person, if my math is correct.
Yeah.
And then I had pushback. Are you serious?
What were
Yes.
do you have some of the phrases?
Oh, I found the words. You want to? It's a good list.
Give us a couple.
Advocacy.
Yeah, right. So how
Okay.
many IEPs are you going to pop because of the word advocacy?
The word bias, equity,
right.
Okay.
Right.
injustice,
Okay.
race,
And now you can see why
stereotypes.
Chris had 18 million emails.
There were 79 words.
All right. Well, do we have any advice for districts if they're in this situation
Talk
of
to
how to
your
handle
lawyer.
it? Talk to your lawyer.
Run.
Don't make decisions. Run. Talk to your
Yeah.
lawyer.
Don't.
That was
All right.
what I mean. That real case of that, and that was a crazy request. It was to lean into the attorney, like how
Yeah.
are we supposed to handle this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're going to do that prep work on how you're going to handle it, and you're just going to, you're going to get with your attorney on what the next step is.
If I recall correctly, there's a handful of law firms that represent school districts in Missouri, and the single attorney would reply, or ended up replying, for on behalf of all of their districts at once. It was, and I think MSBA even maybe came out with a statement. It got really, really silly. It got really silly.
Well, we do have Midwest Tech Talk coming up. I think the three of us are all going to be there, I believe. And I'm hoping, because we're doing the opening keynote there at Midwest Tech Talk. It's July 22nd and 23rd at Lake of the Ozarks, just like the Netflix show in Missouri. A lot of our sponsor friends are going to be there. VIZOR with a Z, VIZOR, is going to be there. KCAV out of Kansas City with their smart boards and all their interactive and audiovisual stuff going to be there. Extreme, Fortinet, all of our sponsor friends, as well as all of our other friends are going to be there. So if you can still come to this, you can still register. Go to MidwestTechTalk.com to be there, to see us, to see them in person, hang out with us. That's a Sunday night, and then a full day Monday, Tuesday, with a cornhole tournament from Provision Data Solutions. I won that tournament one year, by the way.
And that will be my first bit of freedom, because my last day is next Friday. So I'm not even going to bring pants to the conference. It's going to be amazing.
Insane.
Shorts, right?
Yeah. All right. Before we go to the main topic, I think it's time to pivot and say, Josh, why'd you cry this week?
Put my kid on a plane to Europe.
Was he voluntarily going, or did you just like, I'm done with him?
No, it was his idea. It was his idea. It's been a growing experience, I think, is probably the best phrase for that. Going through, like 18, right? An adult. Okay, go through security on your own. Go, you've got your passport. Please don't lose your passport in Italy. Yeah. So they flew to Switzerland, first time on a 787. He was super excited about flying a big jet. Did a couple days in Switzerland. They've done a couple days in Italy. Now they're heading to Monaco tomorrow morning, midnight, roughly our time. And his goal is to gamble. So we'll see if there's I told him when I left, there were 2 rules when he left. I said, don't cause an international incident and eat the weird things on the menu, because if they're on the menu, they're there for a reason.
That's good.
No chicken strips or hamburgers.
That's a very liberal policy to go to Europe to. So kudos to you, Josh.
Well, I'm probably not thinking it through all the way, Mark. I'm glass half full kind of guy. Like,
he comes
I'm not
home with
worry.
a disease.
Yeah.
My lips are puffy forever, Dad.
Dad,
Yeah.
I need you to buy me another plane ticket home for my friend that I met.
Yeah, exactly.
So unpack the moment of you crying. Was it when you left him at the airport or what?
Yeah, goodbyes are hard kind of thing. Yeah.
Did he see you cry?
I'm not sure. I turned around and had to go pace for a little bit. He's totally my child, because we both have to pace when we're anxious and
I've seen you pace.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you've flown with me. It's a treat. He's the majority of the pictures he's sending are food pictures. So yeah, he's my child.
Cool.
Well, you're a proud dad. You've just taken his photos and sent them off to all of us too.
I have.
So we could tell you're very proud of your son.
Yep. Very cool.
It's adorable.
That was brought to you by ManagedMethods, a proud sponsor of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast.
They won't make you cry.
They won't make you cry. Check out them for your cybersecurity and safety made easy for K-12 schools. They can manage your Google, your Microsoft, and other things. Managed Methods. Hey, let me get this one out of the way. ClassLink. Check out ClassLink.com. I know. They have single sign-on. They have rostering, Launchpad, analytics, auditing, security center, OneSync. Did I mention single sign-on and rostering, DataGuard, StateLink, and more? Use ClassLink. What do we say? They're like clever but better. No, we don't say that. I don't know.
No. Mark, what's our main topic?
You actually teased it in the beginning. So it's that time in the summer where all the new staff start to come in, and we want to talk about staff accounts. We know, Josh, you're a nerd and you do some PowerShell script because you all do it that way. But we want to talk a little bit more globally around how do you not create the accounts, but when do you do it? What are your policies around it? Do you have any recommendations for the listeners out there as you have new teachers say, when do I get my account? And how do I get online? When do I get my laptop? So who wants to start on this one?
I will, because I'm the main one. We do not create any accounts until their paperwork is signed in central office. They do not get any equipment until orientation day. Period. And it takes a special dispensation from the superintendent otherwise.
We're similar to that. So typically we would like to be making accounts at the beginning of July, but that is assuming that paperwork's on file. We do have a good process with the admin building when it's working, when paperwork is getting filled out, that we can make their Google account, their Windows account, get their stuff going. So we will email that out to them. They can start using their Google account. That's usually the hot button thing that a principal wants. But then we'll get asked for where's their laptop, can they get in? And we don't do that stuff until they've attended technology department orientation training stuff. We usually do like 2 days of that.
2 days?
It's 2 days. But it's 2 days, but I should say it's sprinkled with curriculum and safety. It's kind of a cool thing. We take them on part of the 2 days is taking them on a tour of the schools and of the community.
Oh, yeah.
But oddly, it's the tech director, me, and the curriculum director doing that.
Our superintendent does that.
Chris, you're more than a tech director. You are like the district's mascot. Let's be clear.
Well,
yeah.
I try.
Yeah. My district is, believe it or not, we are the most firm of all of us, and I hate it. We have a fully integrated system between our employee system, the HR system, and our Active Directory and Google, all that kind of stuff.
8 more days, Mark. 8 more days. That's all.
The accounts are not created. Everything is done. Paperwork is all done. That's a must. But the accounts are not created until that employee's contractual start date, which, due to like union and finance rules, all that kind of stuff, is usually about a week before school starts. And it has been a thorn in my side for a very long time. And I'm really happy. I've been battling this policy for a year, and we're finally doing a pilot where we have teachers' accounts ready about a week before orientation. So I'm excited for that. We'll be able to get laptops out. But hey, if you want my job, all you need to do is spend a year battling on a silly policy like that to make any progress.
I was going to say you won't even be there to see the pilot take place.
I will not, but I'll know it's worked. So
I will say this, and I had this already this summer. New person gets hired by the board approves it. New person fills out paperwork. We make accounts. And when I say accounts, it's not just Windows. It's not just Google. There's like 6-ish things. I'm talking phone system, blah, 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 blah. Door access, the whole bit. And then new person changes their mind and quits before ever getting started.
Wow.
And it's super annoying. Like, it's a big bummer.
That happens a lot. I never would have thought it happens.
Yeah, it happens. And there are districts around here now making teachers, since they've signed a contract, more or less buy out their contract to get out of it.
Wow.
Like that, there's a district not far from me that was, if you do that, it's a $4,000 payment. You're paying the district $4,000 to get out of your contract.
That's intense.
Yeah.
That is. It's a bummer. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Like it's many minutes. And then you send it all out and then you get the notification they're not coming. That's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
And there's an expense to it, right? It's not just employee time, but like materials and fingerprints and all that kind of stuff costs money.
Yep.
Well, that's when accounts are created. It sounds like you guys have a series of different ways that you do accounts. Do you have any sort of automated provisioning or automation around staff accounts, student accounts? It sounds like you definitely do.
Staff accounts, we do staff. We're so small. We're not like you, Mark. We do staff accounts by hand. This year, we're hiring. We counted them up yesterday. 13 new staff members this year, and that's a big number. So, I mean, that's an easy hour's worth of work. That's not horrible.
Yeah. Students are automated, but staff are not.
Yeah, we use GAM.
And we just can't. It sounds like whatever. We can't rely on our HR financial system for those records. Because that's a different person, the person that might be doing the paperwork stuff.
Yeah.
So we just wait for the paperwork stuff to come through.
No, I agree. There are times where I wish we had a little bit more manual control over how the accounts are created. Sometimes it's too late, sometimes it's early, and staff accounts can be a little bit of a pain. So I wish there was a little bit more manual, but at the same time, having automated helps us to push back on when there's like an HR issue, or hey, this has to be resolved by HR. I can't tell you how many times someone's like, oh, my account got disabled. Yeah, why did it do that? Well, I mean, yesterday was my last day. I'm like, well, that's an HR issue. We're not gonna deal with that in IT. So,
this year I've had more students. Like, we tell our seniors, June 30, your account's getting disabled, and we talk about that a good bit in the fourth quarter, multiple times. Principal sends out messages. It's in announcements. Yada yada yada. I've had more kids this year contact me after July 1 and say, hey, I need my account re-enabled to download some stuff. I'm like, dude, okay, you're getting it this afternoon, but it's getting shut off again tonight. Like, this is ridiculous. But I don't know what's different about this.
I'm surprised you helped them.
Well, sometimes it's pretty important stuff. I'm a helper. I'm a man of the people, Chris.
Which people?
I'm a giver, Mark.
All right. Well, that's our main topic. I think the only thing left on the agenda was pivoting to why I cried this week. And I'm going to do this one very quickly so I don't start again. We lost a really valuable listener to the podcast and a really close friend of mine. We've talked about him on the show. He and I listen to you guys for a long time before I joined the podcast. We'd always talk about the latest episode, and he'd come in and say, hey, you should hear how Chris took this one. And he loved Corey too. But our friend Andy, he was my director of infrastructure, my friend, my confidant. He was my brother, my father, my grandfather, all wrapped in one. And he passed away this week after a long battle. Miss him a lot. It's been really hard on the team, especially with me leaving next week too. So just wanted to say shout out to Andy and to his family and to all of my team and all of his friends and family. So thank you very much. And we'll miss you.
We might not be the same. You share the same pain that I do.
The views and opinions expressed on the K-12 Tech Talk podcast are the personal opinions of Josh, Chris, and Mark, and do not represent the views or opinions of our sponsors or other organizations that we're affiliated with. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We were buying words about the phrase of the way and selling songs just to stay.